Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Ben-Nun with Israeli News Live. And gosh, I have got some information I need to share with you from a biblical perspective today. We're going to be looking at all kinds of scriptures. Daniel, chapter 7, Revelation, chapter 9, I believe chapter 9 is where we're going to be going to there, if I remember right. It's chapter 9. Going to be talking about Revelation chapter 20, Gog of Magog. We're going to be looking at Joel chapter 2, Isaiah chapter 27. These are end-time prophetic scenarios of things that are going to be happening. I'm going to also get into First Chronicles as well because of the oddity of this. Daniel, of course, not translated correctly. Another one that I had never saw before. It's not the word second, Tanina. Come on, Tanina. Where in the world did the translators come up with their crazy nonsense to translate the word dragon into the word second? A dragon-like bear. That's what it says, right? So we're going to be getting into these things. And of course, if you remember, those of you that have our Patreon channel there, we shared with you this creature that is kind of like a bear. Actually, I even put it out publicly for you guys because I was trying to find out more about it. This has been seen in many different places around the nation, other parts of the world. This creature that looks like a bear, looks like some kind of dog type of creature because of its head and its claws, but stands erect like a Bigfoot, like a Sasquatch. And we've been told up to 9 foot tall. I'm going to play this little clip here where it's a park ranger, not the actual park ranger itself, but giving the narrative there on Donovan Dredd's channel there, speaking about what he saw that confirms that information that we had gotten from the Pentagon that we shared with you. We've loaded several videos over the last few days here over on our Patreon .com/Israeli News Live. That'll be in the description for you below. This time here, we were given a document that you can actually see it online. It's been disclosed. But I was told that the information in here about the secret base in New Mexico is accurate. The information here is accurate. So I go into that and share that information there with you over on Patreon. So I think you'll find that interesting. So before we get started, I'm going to speak about this, what this park ranger here sees, because it confirms what we had said. And actually, before I do that, though, I do want to read from the book of Daniel. Then we're going to go into other scriptures as well. But Daniel describes here, remember, the Belshazzar, king of Babylon, had a dream in the vision of his head, verse 1, upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven broke forth upon the great sea. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon its feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Wait a minute now. Think about it, right? Notice where all these beasts are coming from. They're coming up from the sea. Do you know where most fallen angels live at? They live in the oceans. Most, as the government would call it, aliens live in the oceans. That's where their bases are. That's where they're at, right? Now watch this. The first was, like a lion. Okay? Like a lion. Just keep that in mind. Right? There you go. He's like a lion. He's not a lion. He's like a lion. He has eagle's wings, right? Then what it said, he's made to stand on 2 feet as a man. Not like a lion, then on 4 foot. This guy's going to stand on 2 feet like a man, and he's given a man's heart. Like genetic modification or manipulation. Then they have on here, and behold, another beast, a second like a bear, like to a bear. Now, this is what's funny, right? They say another beast, ve'ahu chayav, acharei, which is like it's another, it's afterwards. Then they put tanina deme ladov. All right, if you're going to say it's another, acharei, you don't need the word second in there in the first place. Because if it's another, it's already known that it's a second. Then they translate it a second. There is no comma as they put in there. They just put a second, and they put like to a bear. It doesn't say the word second. Not even close to the word second. It says tanin. The Hebrew word for tanin is dragon. All right, let me prove this to you just so you can see this, right? Let's go to Daniel. Well, let's just do like this. Let's take the word dragon. All right, here's the word dragon right there. Now, when I highlight over the H8577, tanin, tav nun yod nun sofit, or tanim, plural, with a mem sofit. A tanin is a dragon. All right, a marine or land monster, a serpent, but it's like a dragon. It also says that as well, dragon. Even they call it a jackal. Isn't it interesting? Or a jackal? A jackal, by the way, is like a wolf type of dog. Right? Now I find this all fascinating when I look at this. Because in Daniel, let me take you to Daniel just so you can see this here. Well, you got it right there. I'll go back to the Hebrew one right there. There it is. Tav nun yod nun. With a hey, which feminizes it. It's all it does, it feminizes it. Tanina. So maybe it was looked like a dragon female bear. Like a mother bear. In that case there, because it is all in the feminine. So I'm looking at this, and I realize that what are we seeing? We're seeing a creature, and of course it's told to do what? It raised up itself on one side. It had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, so it lets you know it walks on 2 legs. And it was said thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh. Wow. Then there comes another creature. And this one's like a leopard. It's not really a leopard, but it's like a leopard. So all these creatures that are rising up out of the sea, one is given a man's heart, so it's been genetically manipulated. The other one here is like a dragon type of bear, which also could be like a wolf bear. Literally, you could translate that as a wolf bear. And it raised up on one side. It stands on its 2 hind legs, right? Then you look at this right here. That image there. That's exactly what you get. Like a wolf-like bear standing on 2 feet. Now I'm going to play just about a minute of this clip so you can hear what the guy says about it. Let's listen in.
Response from the ranger's office. 700 Charlie copy. We have your location. Is everything all right? I responded with, I'm not feeling well, and I'm heading back to my vehicle. I think I might be having a panic attack. Something just doesn't feel right. Do you need us to send out another ranger to your location? They answered. I said, no, I'm almost to my vehicle. It was after I responded that I felt like I was in a dream. I was panicked. It smelled awful, and the forest around the trail felt surreal, like all the wildlife was gone. I stopped to look around, and the trees just looked different. My boots felt different. I kind of felt like I was outside of my body, watching myself look around. It's really hard to explain. That's when I saw it. About 30 yards ahead on the trail. It just came out from behind the trees. This area is known for grizzlies, but this wasn't a grizzly. It stood about as tall as one, but wasn't as wide. I've seen my fair share of grizzlies in 35 years of being a ranger, and I tell you, this was not a bear. It was still daylight, but I was in a heavily wooded area on the trail. The visibility was good, but it was shaded from the canopy of the trees. I was already feeling panicked, and they say that when you have a panic attack, the fight or flight response kicks in. Well, I froze. I literally couldn't move. I couldn't even grab my radio in that moment. This massive creature walked out onto the trail, so now I could see it in full view, full visibility. It was a gigantic dog-like creature, something like out of a movie. It was standing on its hind legs, but not like a dog or a wolf would. It was standing like it was supposed to be standing, like it was designed to be upright. It was covered in fur, but its coat wasn't full or thick. It was like spotted and mangy, like a sick dog or something. I couldn't make out what color it was, but it was dark brown or black. It was too hard to tell from the shade from the trees. It had these yellow eyes, kind of like cat eyes, that were staring straight.
I'll pause it there. I'll put a link in the description for you so you can watch this video here on Donovan Dread on their channel there. I've found many others also where they're reading the accounts of the Rangers and what they say about this. So the accounts are really true. And what's fascinating, though, is the book of Daniel is clearly describing this type of creature that is going to be raised up and is going to devour much flesh. Daniel sees this vision. He goes, much more about it that's written in here. So we can get into all that as well. But we're going to go next. I'm going to take you next. We're going to begin to start looking at scriptural things to break these things down. By the way, if I didn't mention it already, over on Patreon, we've loaded a third video here this week. This one here is about the secret base in Dulce, New Mexico. Is some information that was sent my way that is available publicly, although not probably very well known. And I was told that the information in this is accurate. And that's from a first-hand account from someone that I know who has been to the Dulce, New Mexico base. Worked there, in fact. So we'll go into that in just a moment here. All right, so let's get started here on some of these different prophetic thoughts that I want to share with you. And this is in Revelation chapter 20, starting in verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan will be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, compassed the camp of the saints about in beloved city, and the fire came down from God out of heaven to devour them. The devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Now, this is where a lot of people get the scripture confused, even about Christ, that we shall reign with him that we reign with him 1,000 years. Satan is cast into that bottomless pit. He's thrown into a prison. And here's what's really fascinating to me. The classified version of the Mayan document speaks about a battle that took place here on the earth during the passing of Planet X. Now, oddly enough, when you read the description of what happened during the time of Christ, and of course he was exposing that reptilian influence that was in Israel, as we see in Matthew chapter 23, where he calls them a bunch of serpents and vipers. We see that the moon is darkened, the sun stops shining. We see that there is this massive earthquakes, the graves are open, all kinds of things that happen. The same thing during the time of the Exodus story of Moses, also in the time of the flood of Noah's day, of Enoch. All of these seem to be apparent passings of Planet X. Well, in the Mayan document, it speaks about when that planet was passing, that there was a group of reptilians that came down to this earth. There was a great battle that was fought between them and these giant beings that were 20 plus feet tall. And the reptilians lost and were imprisoned somehow in some type of dimension on this earth. Well, the odd thing is the Mayan document says they will be released. Now, isn't it interesting that Satan is loosed out of his prison, according to the book of Revelation, after being there 1,000 years? Literally, that word is a plural in some of the other ancient manuscripts. It's pluralized, just like in the case of reigning with Christ is pluralized as well. Won't go into that right now. I always wish I had that documentation with me to go into that with you when I have this open, but I always forget about that part. But it's okay. Either way, it's all right. But notice they come up on the breadth. They went up on the breadth of the earth. Just like we read over in Daniel, they're in the ocean, but they come up out of the sea, these creatures. I think they're interconnected somehow. All right, so I just want to throw these things in there for you because I'm getting blown away by the things I'm seeing here, right? Now, let's take a look at Revelation chapter 9. And the shapes of the locusts were likened to horses prepared into battle. Locusts look like horses. And on their heads were as it were crowned like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. Wow. I mean, you got an odd looking creature here. He's the size of a horse, kind of looks like a bug, but yet he got a face like a man. That in a way sounds like a mantis. You ever think about that one? Like a mantis. The hierarchy of aliens looks like a praying mantis, looks like a bug. But he does have a face similar to that of a man, but he's got a big body, and the female mantis is as bigger than a horse, right? And they had hair as the hair of women. Teeth were the teeth of lions. Well, they say that woman bite your head off. Now, I'm not saying that that's one and the same. I'm just telling you, it's fascinating to me, some of the things that I'm aware of, and then you read the biblical account, and they just seem to just kind of match up. They had breastplates that were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings were the sound of chariots, as many horses running into battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. Now watch this now, really. Now, by the way, just so you know, this is things of judgment coming on the earth, right? This Revelation chapter 9 is all about judgment. Fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven out of the earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, and the smoke of the great furnace and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. There came out the smoke, locust upon the earth, and to them was given power, as scorpions of the earth have power. And as it was commanded them, they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only the men whose not the seal of God in their foreheads. Now, I'm just blown away by this because it's the type of creatures that are going to be used to bring about judgment, right? So going back to it, verse 10 and 11. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and the power was to hurt men 5 months. They had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name is Apollyon, Satan. That's who it is, Satan. Revelation chapter 20 says he's released out of his prison. And he comes up on the earth to deceive. The Gog of Magog battle, right? And he's got so many with him that there's like the number of the sand of the sea. They come up, they compass the camp of the saints about in the beloved city. This is what's funny, right? They're deceiving those that are on the earth. You know who they're deceiving? I mean, this is that New World Order. This is the one world religion. This is those Christian groups that are taking and lifting up the Orthodox Jewish community in Israel as if they are some kind of gods that are supposed to be enlightened for you. And yet Jesus already revealed to you that the Orthodox community was what? Let's just read it together. Come on now. Please. I'm blown away by the way people look at these scriptures, right? Because everybody runs around glorifying the modern Jewish people of today, not so much the Jewish people. I love Jewish people. I mean, I come from Jewish people myself, right? But they love to lift up the Orthodox community, right? Now, all right, listen. Rabbi Tovia Singer will tell you Rabbi Nehemiah Gordon. Nehemiah doesn't like to be called a rabbi, I don't think. But Nehemiah comes from a Pharisaic bloodline. Now, it doesn't mean, what I'm about to tell you, it doesn't mean that all Pharisees are reptilians. That's completely false. I don't believe that. But Nehemiah Gordon will tell you that in order to be a rabbi, you have to be able to trace your lineage all the way back to the Pharisees of Jesus' day. Now, Jesus says of the Pharisees of his day, wherefore you be witnesses unto yourselves that you are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill you them the measure of your fathers. You serpents, you generation of vipers, and in some of the Hebrew writings, it's genealogy of vipers. In other words, you are the seed of the snakes. How can you escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send to you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them you shall kill and crucify. Some of them you shall scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city. Okay, hello. Right? Hello. What are we talking about now? Go back to Revelation then. So they're come up on the breadth of the earth, the edge of the earth there, and they're there to do what? To deceive. They're there to deceive the people on the earth. That's what it is in Revelation here, chapter 20. That's your Gog of Magog. They're up there on the breadth of the earth, but we find the Gog of Magog war there, right? Oh my gosh. Well, that's actually the description. That tells you they're the devil. Going back over here, the Gog of Magog. Here we go. To gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. They went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints here. But what were they sent out to do? For deception. Who's being deceived? The ones that are still, I mean, come on. Okay, let me just show you an idea here, right? I'll just give you, all right, I probably typed the poor guy's name wrong. I apologize for that, right? But here we go. Here you go. There's your leaders. Rabbi Scheinberg and Hagee, all right? This is that deception. This is where all the deceiving comes in at. Well, he's with that guy a lot, isn't he? He must really like him a lot. This is all about, let's see, view the page. He's standing up with Trump. Pastor Hagee, Trump administration has God's favor for supporting Israel. Really? Listen, I'm going to be doing another broadcast. I'll probably do this over on Patreon as well, though. But I'll just give you a little heads up. Do you know they've been telling me that if they think Trump's going to get back in office, they're going to start a civil war in the nation. They're going to do that anyway. Wait till you find out more about that. So don't forget, over on Patreon /Israeli News Live, putting out some very interesting things right now. You might want to, I know quite a few, people's subscriptions run off and then they forget to renew, but just so you're aware, 3 we did this past week, fixing to do another one. It'll be on the thing on Trump. Will probably be the next one I do if I remember to do that right. So we got the Revelation. Now let's take a look at some other things. Joel. All right, I'm going to go back. Let me take you back to Daniel though. Like I said, in the book of Daniel, this is not a second beast. It is a dragon-like bear raises up, right? Let's take a look at Joel chapter 2. The appearance of them is the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so do they run. The guys get up on their flipping hind 2 legs like this thing here, big as a horse, and can run like a horse. It's a reptilian. But that bear-like creature is written in the book of Daniel. But by the way, this is the judgment that's coming in the last days, according to Joel. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains do they leap, like noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, and a mighty people set in battle array. At their presence the peoples are in anguish. All faces have gathered blackness. They run like mighty men. They climb the wall like men of war. They move every one in his ways, and they entangle not their paths. In other words, they can zigzag in and out and everything, and they do it with such precision. That, kind of in a way, even though they're talking about the way they run, it It kind of reminds me of like UFOs. They can all kinds of ways and never run into each other. Neither doeth one thrust another. They march everyone in his highway, and they break through the weapons and suffer no harm. And what's weird is, like they were saying to me about the Greys, right? The Gray aliens, because they don't have a brain, and the way their body system function is through this hemoglobin type. It's not red blood, but like in there that they have. It said it's nearly impossible to kill them. They leap upon the city, they run upon the wall, they climb up into the houses, they enter in at the windows like a thief. How many times do you hear about that, right? Especially the reptilians. These fallen angels, they just, next thing you know, they're in your house. Before them the earth quaketh, the heavens tremble, the sun and the moon are become black, and the stars withdraw their shining. Lifnei ragezei aretz. Shuv Shemaim. What is he talking about right there? That's, in other words, right before they come, we're going to see the Planet X scenario. And the Lord uttereth his voice before his army. His camp is very great, for he is mighty that executeth his word. For great is the day of the Lord, and very terrible, and who can abide it? Yet even now, saith the Lord, turn ye unto me with all your heart, and with fasting, weeping, and lamentation. Rend your heart, not your garments, and turn to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and compassionate, long-suffering, and abundant in mercy, and repenteth him of the evil. I mean, a lot of this is making me scratch my head, friends. I just have to be honest with you. Isaiah 27, in that day the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword will punish Leviathan, the slant serpent of Leviathan, the torturous serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea. Now that's what I'm talking about. All these demons and devils are going to go down. In that day sing you of her, O vineyard of foaming wine. I, the Lord, do guard it. I will water it every moment, lest mine anger visit it. I guard it night and day. Fury is not in me. Notice that, fury is not in me. Would that I were as the briars and thorns in flame, I would with one step burn it altogether. Or else let him take hold of my strength, that he may make peace with me. Yet let me make peace with me. In the days to come shall Jacob take root, Israel shall blossom and bud, and the face of the world shall be filled with fruitage. But remember what's going to happen, though. He's coming to judge Leviathan. And I threw this one here in Chronicles in, mainly because I'd shared this with you not long ago. Sister Lorraine sent this to me. She sent me quite a few different scriptures. Many of them I'm familiar with. This was one that I was not familiar with. But again, and she sent me some more that I really want to bring up to you guys as well, that are passages that are not translated correctly. This is another one. He smote the two altars of earth of Moab. This is in 1 Chronicles, what was that? Chapter 11, I believe, verse 22. Where it says, Benaiah the son of Jehoiakim, the son of a valiant man of Gabzel, who had done mighty deeds, he smote the two altars of earth in Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of the pit in a time of snow. It didn't say he smote two altars of earth. It says he smote two lion gods of Moab. I think they just put in there earth and like two altars of earth because they want to assume that it was statues. If you're going to go kill something, you don't kill a rock. You kill a devil. And they were lion gods. And oddly enough, that's the description that's depicted about Satan in many of the writings that are not biblical. That he has a lion head and a serpent body. And it's no wonder then we get things like here, the first was like a lion with eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon 2 feet as a man, and a man's heart was given into it. There's another place where it talks about a lion's head and has a tail of a serpent. Where was that one at? Oh gosh, where did I find that at? Maybe I don't even have it up there. Let me see if I can just pull that up like this here. Let me try to look it up for you real fast in closing here, right? Serpent tail. Oh gosh. Tail. Where was it? Branch rush. Oh gosh, where was that at? Where Egypt with head or tail? Let's see. Prophet teacheth lies. Tail like a cedar. His tail drew the part of the stars of heaven. Oh my gosh, let's see. Lion, head, Daniel, Deuteronomy, crown of the head. No. Where did I see that at? And I wanted to share that with you guys so bad. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to find that. I'll just have to share it in another video. Let me just see if I can do it with serpent. Lion and a serpent. No, let's say serpent's meat. No, serpent, lion, and the viper, and the fiery flying serpent. No. I don't remember where it was at. I'll try to find it for you so I can show it to you. Sometimes the way it's worded, you don't word it exactly right, you won't pull it up right. So I'll have to find that. Anyway, these are the things I wanted to share with you today. I hope it is a blessing to you. Please, if you would, if God lays it upon your heart, our website, IsraeliNewsLive.org. If you are blessed by the things that we try to share with you, we certainly need your help. So please, if God lays that on your heart, if you want to donate, you can. You can click online and just donate easily that way. Of course, across the top of the video is always our address and stuff. You can send that by mail, Stephen Ben-Nun at P.O. Box 156, Sunbright, Tennessee, 37872. And we thank you for that. And also don't forget, the link is in the description below. But I mentioned briefly the other day Iran's capabilities of doing an EMP strike. That was kind of a mind-blowing thing for me, that they had that, right? That they actually were showing that. I'm going to go straight to the cart, but let's say you get an EMP shield for your home, for your car, whatever. The main important thing to save $50, as you can see, I already did it in the cart right there, where I went to $339, is your INL50 code. So when you go to EMPshield.com, remember to put INL50. I'll put that in the description so you can be able to do that. Anyway, I have to be careful on some things that I don't share certain things, because if I load this up on Israeli News Live only or Ben-Nun Institute, something like that, we don't want to strike. So we're trying to be very careful in what we say and when. So God bless you. Thank you for watching. I'll try to also, for those that do have trouble on iConnect, I'll try to remember to load yesterday's video over onto brand new too. Thank you for listening. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun with Israeli News Live. God